Hey guys, this is Turok, and in this video I will be reviewing One Piece 1154. That's right. I was about to say spoilers. No, I'm doing I did the One Piece episode yesterday, so I have to keep thinking is the difference here with what's different with these. So in this one, we're gonna get more of a flashback, further flashback here, focusing a bit more on Loki and some of Haruden now. The last one focused more on starting with Harold and him meeting his first wife Ida, a giant from another location. Then after they have Haruden, and we had this stuff where we find out how, like, because she's not from Elbaf, she can't marry. So now basically Haruden is considered a bastard. I guess technically he still is too, just by the standards. Like they didn't marry before they had a child in the first place too, but still they won't legitimize it afterward. I mean, that probably can happen. They can legitimize it afterwards still, if they're because it's the king. But these elders, these silhouetted elders we see, won't allow it. So then they have him marry someone from another prestigious family of Elbaf, and boy, she was a real what's her name again? I can't remember her name now. The other queen, and she's the one who becomes the official queen. And so, Harold, he follows through with his duty as a king, marries her for the good of the kingdom, has a son, but she because she's such a bitch. What's her name now? Let me see. Wait, what is her name now? Estrid. That's right, Estrid. When she has Loki, we find out he's inherited the I guess the ancient giants. That's what I keep calling them. I'm thinking of Oars. Probably what they mean, but they call them the ancient giants. That their blood's mixed with many of the Elbathian citizens, and they got the horns, and so a lot of people like Harold have the horns too. And I mean, the horns weren't even something that scared Estrid from marrying Harold. I think it's mainly his eyes. He's got these eyes. I realized afterward, I don't think I said this, but I wonder if this, I think I finally have a guess of what Loki probably has as a devil fruit. I'm wondering if the secret devil fruit that Harold was protecting, that the family's been protecting, is what turns him into the world serpent. I think the symbolism here with Loki having the eyes is that they're like snake eyes. So, because unless they're gonna go with the wolf, no, because the eyes don't look like a wolf. I'm thinking it's gonna be a snake. I bet Loki's gonna become an enormous snake, because and I think it's gonna work. I think this works because Loki is already a huge. So Loki's a giant, and he's bigger than other giants. So if he does have this mythical zone that can turn you, there's a mythical zone that can turn you into a super-sized snake, and then you're this super-sized giant. He's gonna just be so big, it's gonna probably make Kaido look small. That is my prediction for that. So the rest of that was just seeing this stuff with now I gotta pull it up here. Yeah, and meanwhile too, this was said here because Harold's spending so much time with his diplomacy that he really should have been here at this time. Well, this is like in retrospect now, hindsight 2020, because now we see Estrid such a terrible at having any true motherly feelings that she ends up throwing Loki off of the sun world and he ends up in the underworld, and then he climbs back up at the end, and that's where it ended right there, right? Yeah. So now let's just get into it now. Yeah. So first we also have the cover story. See that Yamato, he's with that other it's one of the bosses, right? And her and Yultai and Page One, and what's her name? The really tall samurai. Shit, now I'm blanking on her name. They're traveling together to pay respects to. Was that supposed to be Ryuji? No, what's his name? Yeah, Ryuma. Okay. So I don't know. They'll pay respects to somebody here. I'm sorry, I didn't follow up on this story. I'm glad Oda's taking this time to further expand on what's happening in Wano after the Straw Hats left. But I'm gonna get into the story now. So we start off here. So this is probably one of the hardest chapters I've ever watched, because as much as we just saw the stuff at Kuma, like I reviewed it before, and now we just watched it. This one hits home something of a tick in storytelling of something that's realistic, but it's like so frustrating to see how people will behave this way and believe superstitious stuff sometimes. So we go here to the same time Loki was born, right? Because Loki, yeah, I had to pull up a timeline. They show this here. They remind us, yeah. So at the same time Loki was born, that was the year that Big Mom was living in one of these villages. Did they even tell us which one it was? Because we just knew it was in Elbath in her flashback, and now we get to see a little bit of this. We see, so the same year that it happened, then the scenes here re-show some of this. We see the village in flames, and we see Yoro, the other elder that is Yaro's buddy, and they show just little bits of that. He's just showing a little bit to remind us of that flash and how that happened that day, and it was like became like a bad omen, and it's one that Estrid also ties to Loki. And what we're going to see here is a lot of the people are believing this, the people of Elbath. And yeah, it talks here about how she, let's see. So after that happens, so we're getting a lot of narration here. So basically Oda is saying this, I might interchangeably say narrator or Oda. It says, as it happened in that same year, Elbath became afflicted with many disasters. And there talks about fires, gales, cold snaps, and images showing the storms of this is particularly showing different a bad snowstorm. So we're referencing too here because this is a place that's meant to be representing Scandinavian culture and stuff, that they get these really bad winters, and it shows the first we see some of the houses getting poured on by snow, and then we see another one with some of these men who are like probably fishermen, I'm assuming. They also got the tridents. They're out at sea outside of Elbath, and I'm guessing that they're having little luck in bringing home anything. Yep, fishing hauls, right? It doesn't say that there. Duh. I read it so fast. I was looking at the pictures more than I'm reading it. And it says that there was such a bad, between that stuff too, they must have had like a bad harvest as well. There's other villagers that have like their designating jobs too of bringing home different types of food. So it talks about how the people of Elbath were coming onto the brink of starvation. So we switch back to Estrid, and then, yeah, she's one of the guards out there trying to talk to her, and she's just staying in bed all the time. I'm trying to remember, was she just sick, or is she just doing this because she doesn't want to do her job now? She just wants to. Oh, yeah, she was supposed to be leaving, but she's still here. It looks like she's still in the bedchamber in the castle, the royal castle. And so, and this guy's trying his best again to talk to her, like, my queen, this is just a coincidence. Please stop acting like this. And so while the two of them are talking, we hear this big cracking noise, and baby Loki, walks in. He's so large at this time. He's already, so this has to be a little bit later though, because he's so big now. He looks nearly as tall as some of the men here. So he wants to go see his mom, and he goes and pushes straight through the door. With his brute strength is so much that he can push through the door, and just freaks Estrid out. And she's like, it's looking at me. And then she starts screaming at the guards, like, get it away from me. Don't ever let it come near me again. And so some of the other guards come in, and they're trying to restrain him. And he just starts crying and reaching for her, like, just love me. I'm your baby. And it's just instinctually like he's just coming to look for his mom. Oh boy! So she goes on as she goes on screaming. She starts telling them, "Put out the beast's eyes, or this country is ruined. It's all under a curse." Her and her bullshit. So now we switch back to the people of the city citizens, and we switch to a mother and child, and they've run out of food, and the young boy, I think it's a boy, it's like screaming to his mom like, "I'm hungry," like tummy hurts and stuff, and the mom's just trying to counsel him, and she's like, "I'm sorry, we just ate the last loaf of bread. We don't have anything else." So now we get two other adult giants arguing, and one suggests like, "Shouldn't we just go raiding to get some food? It'd be easy to take from the human." That's part of Elbaf history too. So like they're arguing. So the way I understand this, yeah, I think this other one's saying no. It's trying to say no, that's not how we do that anymore. We always fight with pride. We don't just go raiding. And then I think the first guy is the one saying like, "Ha, that's just a story we tell ourselves. We should just go out there," basically saying, "Let's just go out there, screw that stuff now. It's not going to save our stomachs and our children if we just stick to that mentality, this policy and stuff that Harold had implemented to them." So now we switch to some of these men in one village, and it's probably the blacksmith one, and they start crying out to each other like, "Oh, the huntsman village is attacking us." And then it's like, "Yes, they're coming after. I've heard they've been going after other villages." So now we're at this point where this is a good reminder here. I didn't think about this, but this chapter is going to iterate how these Elbathian villages are not truly they're not truly together in a way where they're above pillaging each other. They've become desperate here now, especially, and King Harold isn't here to reel any of them in. So now the villagers they're going after each other, and this falls in with how we know Viking societies were. They were a series of villages and smaller kingdoms sometimes across the Scandinavian peninsula that would fight each other all the time, as well as go out and raid other nations and places. Like France and England got a lot of that. Yeah, and the narrator goes on telling us this stuff, like, this time Elbeth had little internal cohesion and cooperation. Civil wars were not uncommon. Wait. Yeah, I guess right. With the desperate food situation, the fighting only grew worse, and many died. So we get those scenes where flames and hearing screaming as people are fighting and killing each other. We see like a bloody axe with someone hand laying next to it. So now we get to a point here. We get to a scene here next with two giants talking to each other, and there's one guy's like saying to the other, "What I heard, that the prince in the castle is cursed." So now what happens here is these guys some of these idiots have got in their head that they have to go kill Hyrudin to stop Loki's curse. Basically, I think what's going on here is they instead of killing Loki with themselves, because it's like it's an egregious sin of sorts, a crime to kill royalty in this kind of society. This is the kind of thing too. I was just rewatching Hamlet the other day, ironically, and that was a whole part of that plot with Hamlet, is that he thinks his uncle killed his brother, Hamlet's dad, but because of it, that would still be wrong for him to get revenge on his dad and kill his uncle, because he's the king now. He remarries, the uncle marries his former sister-in-law, and then he's the king, and then that's the whole plot there where Hamlet is contemplating how to handle this stuff. But what's happening here is this one guy figures, well, I can't kill the prince, but Hyrudin isn't royalty. He's a bastard. He's not one of us. So this guy comes bashing into the door where Hyrudin and Ida are, their home, and he's like, you're his brother, so you must be a sacrifice to stop this. And Ida steps up and like, what? Wait a minute, now, how did she say that? Yeah, there's one piece of dialogue here. I don't understand what she's saying here about he's got to live to be the oldest boy. All right, anyways, So she's defending. She stands up to try and defend up her Haruden, and this asshole then turns toward her. This guy must obviously this person's desperate and angry, but man, he grabs Ida by the throat and he's preparing to hit her with his Does he have a hammer? He has a hammer or axe there, and he starts ranting on her. Oh, you shut up, you wench! I'm gonna, all kind. He doesn't use that kind of language, but you can imagine if this was like in Game of Thrones or something, that they'd probably allow more language of that horror, bad name calling. Wench is probably the easiest one I could say here. All kinds of other stuff. You had no right to seduce Harold, you outsider. Hell with you. And she just keeps yelling back like, shut up. Love has no borders. And then Haruden jumps out and he's getting ready to fight back. But suddenly we have this scene where just Harold has come back at this point, and he got in there just in time and smacks the fuck out of this guy with his big punch. He did this really good panel with his... God, he must have been really beefing up. His arm looks great now. He's got this huge bicep. I'm very jealous. He knocks this guy into the ground. So, and then we got Haruden and her like, oh, daddy. And she's like, Harold. And then he, Jesus, he came just in time. And he comes out, he's out there talking to the people in this area. Like, why are you turned on each other, my brethren? And, well, I mean, Harold, my thing here is, Harold, you've been gone a long time, buddy. He's spending so much time away. Jesus. Oh, did he? Yeah, he always had that tattoo too, didn't he? I wonder what the line tattoo significance are. Because he has one, and I remember that Ripley, Scopper's wife, has one too. So this must be just after he's come out. Yeah, this is after he's just come back, right after Loki was born. And he's like, he comes back like, I heard about my son Loki being born, I've learned about what happened here, and I was able to rally the help of other countries, of which I have ties with. So at this point he has successfully created some diplomacy and stuff with had successful diplomacy with other human nations, and he says these people. Once I told them of the what's going on here, they quickly and unitedly loaded their ships with massive piles of food to come help us. And so we get this great shot built into the double panel where we see several large human sail ships, and you can see the pile of bags. They look like satchel type bags of food tied on their main decks, arriving up to Yggdrasil. You can see that's coming to Elbath there. And so we get this nice scene where we're watching people eating food. We got that I think that's the same family. We see the son and daughter. Yeah, it's the same one. You can tell it's the same woman. That woman who had her boy who was screaming how he was starving, eating, and you got this other guy. He's tearing into a loaf of bread and crying. And so Harold's making this nice proclamation. Let us be grateful for their aid and savor the food they brought us. And then if they ever need help, let us give it to them as freely as they did to us. This is really I love this chapter, this part. We're really seeing how much of a good guy Harold has through Ida's influence. We saw the buildup of that in the last chapter, and we really see how he's coming to himself. This is the same thing we get. I love how Oda always does a great job of this with other kings we've had. We have Cobra from Alabasta and Violet's dad. I can't think of his name right now. King and Dressrosa. And how these great kings, and then this shit keeps happening to them. And Eldos is so good at building up these wonderful kings like this in here and queens like that. I hope we get a good flashback for that example with Lily Nefertiri when that time comes to see what kind of person she was and how she changed and helped with the poneglyphs. So we continue here now that Harold's back, and he's shortly before Harold's return, Queen Estrid passed away. And we get a shot here of probably some kind of church or something of the like. And there's a coffin there, and there's a portrait of Estrid above it. And so the Oda keeps telling us here, and to her dying breath, she spitefully blamed the kingdom's ills, on the curse of Loki, her son. And we see him mourning her. So he developed some feelings for her. And of course, he's not a bad guy, so he wouldn't wish ill on her. I don't know how much he understood how she was acting at the end, though. They never convey that part well here. And I don't, her being gone, I'm not, and I'm in one of those positions where characters like that I despise, but I don't wish them to be killed. I don't wish them ill either. So it's just too bad that no one could convince her to stop with her superstitious ways. And then so the unfortunate too, this thing here, the Oda continues telling us, well, naturally, people believe that the curse was responsible for her death. So this stuff, the only thing I'm confused about in this part is whether or not the people themselves start believing in a curse, because I'm sure Estrid seemed like the worst version of this kind of behavior of believing in curses and stuff like that. I'm sure many of the people have their own versions of those kind of beliefs too. But then we go to a shot here where Loki, after him paying his respects to his wife, we get Harold holding baby Loki, and you can see. Wow, I forgot actually for a moment because I just was talking to you in the other page where Loki, how big Loki looked when he walked into Estrid's bedroom. You can see he's tiny though compared to. He looks like a proper baby size when Harold holds him up. So Harold's got him in his arms, and he's only like a little bit big. I'm just using my hands as representation. He's just a little baby still. And at this point, though, you can tell it's some time later than that last scene, though, because now Loki's hair now has started to grow in. He didn't have any in that shot where he plowed into the bedroom to try and see his mom. But at this point now we get the first shot of his bandages being put on. So at first, when I read this, I was thinking that someone listened to her command about trying to take his eyes out. But there's a shot later where you see his eyes again. So that is not actually what happened. But it sort of got scared about that for a moment. But so they just been bandaging his eyes instead, or some kind of gauze type stuff like that. Yeah, on his face, and the people just lie to him. So I don't think Harold ever thinks to check himself, but some of the guards are just like, oh, the bandages. Well, he was born with an affliction of the eyes. I'm afraid he can't see though. I assure you. And Harold's like, okay, and he's like, oh. Poor boy, my poor baby boy. He believes them, and he's just like rocking Loki there. Yeah, it's so nice too to see Harold holding him, because we saw the scenes earlier in this chapter and the last one where it talked about how Loki had wasn't getting love. Yeah, so I continue here with Harold looking at Loki, and he's talking to Loki, and he's like, "Oh, Loki, can you smile?" And he's like, "Oh, I suppose you're not right. You can't right now after losing your mother." And Oda starts speaking again here, saying, "Oh, at just a few months old, Loki abandoned any hope for love." I I kind of find that a little too dramatic, that part, because it's like, okay, I think the baby could still be. There's still other stuff that's going to happen that's more feasible, but that's like, yeah, he's just after what happened with him and his mother, what happened where Loki's just like, nope. I don't trust you. And then he also notes they don't specify what happened here, but we can assume. I don't know if that's because the guards or Estrid did this. Harold's like, oh, he's got some bruises on him. What is that? And the other guards are like, oh well. So I don't know if that just meant when they wrestled him down a number of times, every time he kept trying to return to see his mom, or they were smacking him or something like this. They're just like, yeah, now that part makes sense too. Like, he's not gonna be a happy child, and it's just a really tough situation. So Oda continues, and we start talking. Well, meanwhile, Harold's diplomatic ties paid off, and Elbaf was able to survive its long winter. And this next shot then is Harold's out there with some other men, And he's at this point. This is where the branch things we saw earlier are being built. So Harold here now is staying here at this point for a while. He's beginning to build like a kind of pathways and highways type of thing to connect Elbath together better. He's trying to unite the country better as an actual country, the villages. And now he's doing this planning with these men about and making the first one here to talk about branch route 1. And so he's organizing this work to get done to create pathways that would allow better connections to the various villages. But while that's happening, Odo goes on by saying, but with all this rebuilding the country and his many foreign trips, Harold was so busy that the care of Loki fell to his regent, who happened to be Estrid's older brother. And we see this asshole here. Loki's walking around somewhere, and then this guy's just looking at him. He's like, "Oh, you horrid thing." So this guy is not is in line with the same thought process as Estrid, probably with probably the same superstitious stuff too. We never see any of that, but he's blaming Loki for his sister's death. Yeah, this scene reminds me a bit where they start showing this stuff here. This reminds me a bit of Hell of a Boss, where the Stolas, he's married to I think her name was Octavia. Stella. Octavia is his daughter. Excuse me. Stella is the wife, and she's this horrible woman too. And they're in an arranged marriage also, and then she has a nasty brother in there. In that story though, right now they're not. Octavia is they're keeping Octavia kind of in their how do you call it when not possession, parental care, whatever that because she's going to be the heir. She's the heir now to Stolas. So Stolas in that recent episode has been stripped of his his responsibilities and sort of his powers and stuff that he was part of in the in Hell in that story. And so, but Octavia then is going to be the next in line. So Stella and her brother Andreas, they're taking care of her. She's and stuff. So it's just that similar. It's a weird, Anyways, anyway, I don't want to go on about that here for One Piece right now. But so. Anyways, it's unfortunate that Harold doesn't have any other family of his own to take care of it. So Ida, of course, is still not allowed in the castle, and Loki's probably not allowed to leave the castle. So now they're just it's just this horrible situation here where now Loki's still not going to get any love because Harold's spending too much time with his work. He's pouring himself into his work, and he's not spending enough time with them. That this is just making Loki worse and worse into the person we know now. Especially worse here. We're going to see a bit more of that later. So now we switch to a scene back with Haruden and Ida. And I think this is supposed to be the same bar we saw Colin and Shanks in back here. And I think that I was double checking before this. But this is the other woman. I was thinking for a second, was that Ida? No, that's a different woman running the bar. But I'm thinking this is the same one. So Ida started this bar. So she's down here in the underworld now. I'm wondering if they moved out of there because they were probably living in that same, the Western Village near the castle. But then after that guy tried to kill them to try and lift the curse, they moved down here. And now Haruden's yelling at, kind of objecting to his mom. It's like, it's too dangerous down here. This is the underworld. But she's like, no, we're in an area that's where the sea separates us from the rest of the underworld. The beasts and other dangerous things won't be able to reach us here. So that's what so that's how they're safe from over there. They look like they're they're so close to the shoreline. It looks like there's mountains behind them. And I was looking at the other chapters where they show that they're probably, those beasts are probably on the other side of the mountains and the sea or whatever, so they're safer there. And Ida's bar. I don't think they said the name of that area. So Ida, we see Ida pouring her drink, and maybe there's some other customers there, but and she goes up to Haruden. I keep saying Harold. I mean Haruden now. She's there with Haruden, and we see Haruden here is probably 10 years old or so at this point, and And so now he's at the age where he can start training. And she's like, "Oh, it's almost that time for you to start doing your warrior training, huh? I'll try and visit whenever I can." And and she says, "As for this bar, this is going to be the bar where we welcome everyone, fishmen, shipwrecked pirates, anyone. Ida's bar, I'm going to call it. I just hope it can help Harold somehow." So we can really see that, Ida is a great woman who's really kept up her optimistic and perky personality and stuff. And I'm just wondering, oh man, it's just making me sad here. And I'm thinking, is she going to die in the next chapter or two then? There's something, we don't see her anymore. So I was discussing this in one of the other reviews, probably the last one, about what happened to her. So now we switch to it. This is a very interesting conversation that comes up here. Now we're at 56 years ago, Jarl's home. So King Harold is visiting Jarl, and they're talking together. And Harold's recounting a story. We're reading the aftermath of it, because I'm going to get a little bits of this later about what that is. So what Harold's telling him first is while he was out in his travels, he wanted to go visit the a meeting that was happening at the time, and he wasn't a member, so he got someone else to help him slip in as a soldier, and he was able to get to speak to some people, but he says the council would not hear him out. And but then he says, if not for the uproar around that murder, I might have been imprisoned. They're going to get to that. We'll get to that at the end. They reveal, but something tremendous happened there. Not as bad as a celestial dragon, but pretty bad. And he says, and Jarl's like, yeah, if you're lucky, you'd only be in chains. Being like he probably would have become a slave to one of those celestial dragons. Now he brings up this new group of people, this giants. Like, have you ever heard of the Gallia band? Now I'm trying to think, was this the one? Wait, are these the ones that are these Dorian Broggies? No, because there's something else. One guy that looks like, they show a silhouette of these new giants. So first I finish the story. Harold says that group of giant shipwrights, they're hammer-wielding warriors as well, I hear. I thought they were a myth. And Jarl's like, no, they most certainly existed. How come this is weird? So he says they traveled to distant shores and sent a letter back from Elbath that we have been taken prisoner. And he's like, who could possibly capture 100-strong company of our kind, with ancient giants among them to boot? Who was that one again? Oh yeah, Kashi. Yeah, Kashi. That one silhouette looked like Kashi. So, and Harold continues, you think the world government did that? And Jarl just says, it's clear we had a great enemy at some point in distant past, but all that history was sunk under the sea in one day. So, that's interesting. So he knows a bit about the flooding stuff that caused that happened. Okay. That was something I was talking about too, because Jarl is like, what does he know? He's over 400 years old. So the Void Century would only be a couple generations at most back from when for his grandfather. Maybe if his father was, his father had lived until around the point where Jarl was a kid. That guy could have been, if that guy lived as long as Jarl, his father lived as long as Jarl is, then he would have been able to recount some of these stories of stuff he saw back then. Or if his grandfather, his own grandfather told the father, and then the father told him. It just does look like some of the giants never passed down, or there's enough information that was passed down orally at the very least for the giants to know exactly what happened back during the... Let's see here. So your failure to win them over might not be your fault. I don't get that. So I thought he said they were a myth. I wonder if the translation's wrong here. There's so many... So now I go on with this other story. First, I'll have to dive into this one more when I watch. I'm gonna have to watch. I haven't watched anyone else's reviews yet, so I'm sure I'm missing something here, and I'm sorry about that. I want to see what Teching and some other people say about this story, just so I can figure out what this is, because this is something I really would like to dive in. I like when they start giving more tidbits of history, and I wonder if it connects to any of the other stuff we already know. And so this next one is interesting too, because again, Jarl says, I've heard stories on the wind about an army of giants put on ice and hidden somewhere. In any case, never forget that we have long been a threat to the rest of the world. Uh, is that meaning the ones that got captured? I thought for first he was talking about Ors, the Ors giants. The thing too, this brings up an interesting point too. I'm thinking about how the world government is trying to subdue everything, and they took out the Lunarians, and then the Ors tribe are gone. And I'm thinking about how and the Buccaneers as well. I'm wondering if this is just another story relating to how Eam is trying to subdue all these dangerous races, the giants, the Ors, the ancient giants, the Lunarians, to keep any kind of potential threat of these different races that could band together. Because there's that kind of related with that the prophetic thing we saw on the wall back a while back in the chapters, and then kind of like showing them band together to defeat the world government. So now we're getting to the scenes. We're seeing how shitty the brother of Estrid is. So we're at the castle, and this asshole's like, "Oh, Prince Loki," but then he's like, "Killer of my beloved sister. Let's see, what rotten scraps shall I feed you today?" So now we start skipping some years ahead, though. I don't think we get any more years here, but we can figure out. Well, I'll get to that part in the end. We can still figure out this is like probably something like 40 to 50 years ago. We start seeing little shots of Loki as he's getting older. We see him like he's like maybe 8. He's got like this hair's growing out, and then the next shot his hair's even longer and his horns are growing out as well. Oh, I wonder if that's what happened. So then the next shot, when it shows him a little older, it's like, oh no, the lucky horse is dead, which was the probably that 8-legged one. The I can't think of the name now. And then the next shot. So now this next shot, I wonder if Loki did this. It says the Regent is dead. We found his body down in the underworld. I'm thinking Loki got rid of him finally. He just like, fuck you, asshole. You're my uncle, but you're treating me like shit. Oh wait, there is the years right there. Duh. So now we jump. This is 6 years after that conversation with Jarl. And it says 48 years ago, Harold built 8 branch routes in Elbath, unifying the country and creating a vibrant trade between the villages. And we see him doing like an official thing, probably. This is like the ribbon cutting, you could say. My dream for us to be connected to every country and a giant kind to be able to live. My dream is for us to be connected and for giant kind to be able to live across the world. And so then we see the citizens saying, "Yay, you're so great, Harold." And these other people they're all just celebrating with how Harold has improved their way of life, and they're now starting to, they've well past that point really of realizing that that Harold's thought process it has improved their for the better, that rather than being this enclosed nation that only raids and pillages other places. We get a still bad scene of sorts here where we got Harut in there joining the celebration, and then some of these nasty guards just walk up. "Oh, what are you so pleased about, Haruden? You're not even the king's real son. Loki's our only prince. You're just a bastard." What a bunch of assholes. I'm thinking about this double-edged sword here, not double-edged sword, like that they're treating him, they treated Loki terribly. Oh wait, Loki is sitting there in that scene. These are probably some of his guys that like him. And you see how Loki here is grinning at these while these 2 guards pick on Haruden. And you can already tell here that he's quickly, even though he's, how many years would that make him? 3, because Haruden would be, it's 8, I think at the actual years, I wrote down over here, I think it's like 18 years apart, but that would be about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 7, 8 years apart, and in their age, but he's like already towering over Haruden easily here. So now we get to see how Loki started getting another part of his bad name, other than the cursed stuff that his mother spread when he was little. So King Harold has gone out, and this is Loki saying this. "Oh, King Harold has gone out. He's gone out on one of his trips. You know what that means?" Oh, I know. These are the people saying that. And so people start preparing for the worst, because we see a shot here where Loki, his brought creatures up from the underworld, and he's rampaging through this one village. So he's attacking these people because, see, Loki here is seen as not following, it does not believe at all in his father's, where we are, we saw it in the other chapters. He's already at this point does not believe in his father's mentality about being this kind and stripping away their warrior stuff, as it were. And so he's rampaging across in this village because these are people that believe in Harold's new policies. So he's like, come on, boys, let's knock this, let's take him down. This is Albath, land of the mighty. These weak don't belong here. And so yeah, and Oda's continuing in his narration. Loki, meanwhile, caused harm and destruction and mocked those who ran from him. So we got the animals running around causing havoc, him smashing down homes and whatnot. And then in this one shot, Haruden tries to step up and stop him. He's just not big enough, though. And he's, of course, Loki's always going to keep outpacing him in height now. And he's standing up to him with a sword in front of him, like, don't mess up the village's dad worked so hard to rebuild. He's like, and Loki then just starts saying, well, he's my dad, not yours. But then he flips and says, well, he just because he gets a lot of respect from the citizens, he tries to be friends with those pathetic humans. It's so stupid. He's such an ass. It's such a hypocritical kind of thing here. I love that when they show that. It's like, well, he's my dad, but he's also a dick. I mean, not a dick. He's also pathetic. You can't call me dad. Only I can call my dad, but I also don't like him. It's like, okay. And Haruden tries, he starts yelling at him and speaking like, his philosophy, not philosophy, like, you can't just treat people like this. You have to see everyone at the same level. You think you're just special because you're big. And Loki, that pisses Loki off, and he's got his kanabo here. He's got a kanabo instead. Oh yeah, he don't have a hammer at this point. He's got a didn't he have a kanabo? Yeah. Wait a minute. Didn't he have the kanabo? Did they show at the end of the last chapter? Let me check again. Oh, that's right, yeah. There was a silhouette at the end of the last chapter where he had the kanabo. Okay, when they're showing that here, he's got basically the same kind of kanabo as what Kaido wields, and he uses that here, and he smacks Haruden good with it, and he's like, I'm special because I'm the prince. Don't ever talk back to me again. And then now we get a shot where we see Gerd and Goldberg when they're little, and so Gerd saw the exchange, and she's running over to help, and Goldberg's like, so she's running over to help, and like, Haruden, are you okay? And Goldberg's like, don't go over there, Gerd. Loki will think we're friends with him, and then he'll hit us. Okay, and this is funny. Gerd, I wish Gerd went up, and I guess she wouldn't know how to fight him herself, but because she's the doctor, and she turns on Gerd and Goldberg and smacks him in the head, and it's like, we are his friends, you dummy. I'm not gonna hide that from Loki. And so we see some Haruden, Gerd, and some others come up and check on Haruden and make sure he's okay. And Loki's kind of like walking away, like, oh, I don't know how to. I guess he doesn't. I don't know. Maybe he's in a way he doesn't want to hit women. He just kind of like Gerd. I guess Gerd. You could say Gerd does scare him, and he just like actually based on what else is happening, you can kind of tell what's going on here too. Is Loki still feels ostracized by the people in a way where like he doesn't know how to say, hey, I just want some friends, and he kind of like, I think he's jealous here of the attention Haruden's getting. Yeah, because I'll show in a second. Yeah, but he's like, he just starts gloating over here in a way, and he's like, you're just a loser, Haruden. Look at you weaklings, licking each other's wounds. The son of a mother with tainted blood. And we see the others. I think that's Stevis in there. He's kind of like grinning. It's kind of small, but it looks like he's kind of like that bastard Loki. And then Gerd's still like trying to check on Haruden. So then these other guards, these must be other guards, not the same douchebags we saw at that other point. They're trying to stop him. They're like, Your Highness, that's enough. He is the king's son as well. He's a prince. He's also the prince, and Loki turns on these guys. Also, you can see how tall Loki is at this point. He's a little bit above these guys' height. He's an adult giant. And then he turns on them. Don't call him a prince. And he starts beating the hell out of those guys. But yeah, this is where the Oda starts telling us how he really feels. Like but no matter how much he harmed and destroyed, Loki could never fill the hole at the center of his being. So he's really just hiding all his anger and stuff behind this. Oh, is that what he tried to do here? I thought he was just down in the... So he's down in the underworld. I actually misunderstood this, I think. I thought he just went down there to, like, get away from everyone else. But I think what actually happened is he tried to take his life. Because I see the shot... He does a shot, Oda, with the bottom of the sun world and the mountains below, and you just see the little falling. It looks like he fell down, and he just hits the ground, and he's just lying there, and then he's like, I can't even die. This is shot here too. Now this is with a shot too where I saw he still got his eyes. You can see his eyes here, and he's taking off the bandages, and he's crying here, and he's all bloodied up and everything. Yeah, so it's just so much happening here. So now we get to the last scene here. Now this is something that it kind of bugged me. This is very interesting, and there's other stuff I'll go over in a minute. So while Loki's lying there, we hear voices from way over somewhere in the underworld, and someone's like, "What's up with this island? How do we get inland?" And then there's this big, and we see a mountain top gets sliced off, and then we switch to some of the animals like, "Holy shit, what the hell's that?" And they're running away. And then suddenly we see a silhouette of 4 people, humans, that walk up to Loki and look, and they're like, "Oh, look at that, giant kid. So this must be Elbath." And now we get to see some of them. And first we see Shiki, the golden lion. And he's like, this one looks positively demonic. And then we see Whitebeard. And like, he seems too big even for a giant. Is he crying? So finally we get this big shot, and we see Whitebeard and Shiki, and it looks like that's Stussy, Buckingham, the original. And we get this big reveal, and we see Rox D. Zebek. And he's like, "All right, brat, you're going to say yes twice, because that's the answer I want from these questions. Question 1, is this Elbath, the land of the giants? And question 2, is Harold here?" And we get this shot of him. And the thing too, this is what I'll get into later. So he's future captain of the Rocks Pirates and father of Blackbeard. And you can see it in his face. He looks very much like Blackbeard. The main difference is he did not get a bit obese like Blackbeard is. He's very, I can't tell quite how tall he is. Well, he looks like he could be taller Whitebeard, because we get this shot, it's a top-down kind of shot with the Whitebeard and Shiki and Stussy and him in front of them. And he looks like he might be bigger than Whitebeard. And so Oda starts with a little thing, finishes off with a little narration again. And this man whom Harold had met at Reverie 8 years earlier killed a Navy headquarters admiral and fled. Now the government placed a heavy bounty on his head. And that's the end too. After he asks if Harold's there. Holy shit. So the first thing I wanted to say is, like, I was kind of bothered that Oda just reveals right away this is Blackbeard's father. I kind of wanted that mystery to be kind of left. I don't know how I expected it. I did not really think that Blackbeard would be Zebek's son. But now we see that he is. So now we know too then that Zebek, how old is Blackbeard again? Zebek must have had Blackbeard right before he went to God Valley. But how come he uses this? Is he using his mother's name then? Because he does not have a age. Yeah, he's 40 years old. So, yes, so 40 years. So 38 years ago was the thing. So he was a toddler when Zebek died. Okay, we got that now. All right. I should have looked that up before. But yes, so Zebek is here. We don't know what he's here for. Now we're going to be left in suspense until the new chapter. Fortunately, I don't think there's a break this week, so sorry. I don't think that we'll have to wait long to find out. I'm just wondering if he's going to cause problems here or if he wants to meet Harold. I'm thinking he wants to meet Harold to do something, make an alliance. Maybe at this point he's already planning on like, because this is 8 years earlier, right? So this is wait, let me check here. 48 years ago. Right, 56 years ago. Right. So this is still 48. Okay, yeah. So this is 10 years before God Valley happens, and Zevek is killed. So he's here he's already amassing some of these main members that will be with him. He doesn't. So at this point, he doesn't have Kaido or Big Mom with him. So this is 48 years ago. So this would be, Big Mom would be now 48 years ago. She'd be like 18 or 19 about now, I think. And so Kaido would still be 12. He joins them when he's 15. So he's still not there. He's still probably wandering about. At this point, I think this would have been around the time he was captured. He was kept getting escaping from the Marine. The king of the kingdom Kaido came from kicked him out because he was too destructive. And he was conscripted or forced into the Marines, but then he kept escaping because he was too strong. Also, we get a great look, by the way. I forgot that Zevek. We see what Zevek looks like too. Now, we had that weird look before where he just had the evil eyes and he had the dark spiky hair. His hair is not all dark hair. It's got black stripes and the rest of it's just this is in color, but it's like white and black, white with black stripes, kind of. He's also got a couple bangs coming out. And he just really got that sinister look like Whitebeard does, though. And he's got his sideburns come all the way down and meet with his goatee. And he's wearing like a dark jacket with no shirt underneath and just dark pants. And yeah, he looks pretty tall. Man, and also something interesting, I don't think Whitebeard's happy to be there. He looks kind of like, he's got this one look there where it's like he's kind of feel like he's already been forced to work for Zevek, and he doesn't want to. So now I gotta look though. Is this the point? I don't think so. I'm trying to think when we went back to see, when we saw Zevek was there before, I think that would have been a little after this, because Loki, well no, Loki could be right size. This might be the point where he wanted to fight him. Where was that shot? I'll have to go look that up now. I found it. It was in chapter 1145 that this probably was the same time period. Because Loki looks about the same there. And we saw just the silhouette of Zevek still back then. And Loki wanted to go with Zevek and join him. And then Zevek said no. It was the same thing technically as how Shanks is, where he didn't want to take kids with him. And Loki tried to fight him. I mean, he got his butt kicked there. And Whitebeard was at the time like, you don't have to use a blade on a kid. So anyways, yeah, this is holy shit. So now we got the idea. Now we're just seeing. I wonder where Oda's gonna go with this. I was thinking about this. This is interesting now that we have Blackbeard, who is the son of Zebek, and we had Ace, who is the son of Roger, and how Oda's gonna try and do this father to son inheritance thing here. I think what Oda's gonna be aiming for here is kind of the difference. Inheriting the will of someone before you, because you idolize them the way Luffy does with Shanks and Roger, versus Blackbeard, who wants to do this because it was his father specifically that almost took over the world and lost, and then now he wants to fulfill that dream in place there. Actually, that one other thing, I don't think that is that one thing. I think there's actually like a tattoo type thing he's got going on, similar to what the Giants do, but it looks like a lightning bolt instead across his left eye. And the right one, yeah, that's definitely a bang on the right eye coming down, but the left eye is more of a lightning bolt. Also, yeah, I have to point out too that we only see these guys here. Maybe the others are still there. The other members we see later, we saw Gloriosa. Oh no, not Big Mom and Kaido. Not Kaido for sure, but Big Mom maybe there. I stayed on a ship. The only other thing too is it says future captain of the Rocks Pirates, but like, what would he call these group now? He said this is 10 years before they're going to be over with. The Rocks are done and over with. So I'm just wondering what they call themselves at the moment. And yeah, this was just really a sad thing to see how the superstitious stuff between Estrid and the people there ended up making Loki this way, and it just was unfortunate that Harold was always away, that this stuff started becoming worse. So in a way, it's like he was making things better, but there was just like this rot happening of other things. While he was trying to take care of other matters, there was like this bit of rot missed that he should have nipped in the bud, but it just didn't work out that way, and it's going to cause this calamity and this stuff happening to the stuff later because he's gonna die. He gets killed. What was that again? 20 years ago? Oh, I forget now. And I hope now we're gonna get soon into this stuff next. I want to go further enough in this flashback where we find out where Loki went out to sea and meets with Big Mom, and because then she wants to have him marry one of her daughters. What's her name? Not Lola. I forget her name now. And then it doesn't work out because she refuses the marriage. Anyways, that was a great chapter, and now yeah, the other question too, what happened with Ida? We've got to find out what happened to Ida. But we're really doing good here at fleshing out this stuff. And now too, this is one other thing. I can see now too why it was so important for Hyrule and why he was so committed to wanting to get to try to get Ace's Devil Fruit. He probably knew he needed something like that. He at this point with that story. Phrasing it wrong. Loki likely ate that Devil Fruit after Harold's killed, is what I'm guessing right now. So Haruden was already at a disadvantage against Loki, and then if Loki ate this dangerous Devil Fruit, which I'm guessing is a mythical zone, the Jormungandr fruit or whatever, and that he wanted to have us, if he got the hands on a Logia like the flare fruit, he'd have a chance against something like that. But that didn't work out that way, and man, it's just, this is just so much stuff going on here. It's just so good to how he's finally fleshing out. We've had to wait so long. Actually, not as much me. I started getting into this 7 years ago, but like people waiting 20 plus years for this. I hope that many of you are the wait. I hope you're here still to see what you waited for and learning about Elbath and this stuff. And this has also been something since we got the Big Mom flashback that was so good to finally get some of the answers to. And hopefully we'll get a little more here as it comes and we get further into Loki's and Harold's relationship with Zebek, maybe with Big Mom later, and find out what happened, why he got killed. But I'm going to leave this here for now. Thanks for watching.